everyone, welcome. Today we're drawing this super cute Christmas gnome. Gnomes have become very popular and I have fallen in love with them over our quarantine period here because I created this little neighborhood thing where we put gnomes on people's porches and made them traveling gnomes and put little gifts out. And it's been really fun to watch them travel around the community and see people post about them. So I've got a little bit of a gnome obsession currently. So that is what inspired this drawing. For this one, we want our paper portrait, so it should be taller than it is wide. This would be a really cute Christmas card too. So you could fold your paper in half and have it going up and down and put this on the front, even add like Merry Christmas or something on the front or inside. We're going to start actually with his hat. And we're starting on that brim area. So let's imagine that we've got his body down here, which is probably about 1 hand tall. Then his face is actually really small because there's really just a nose, right? And then his hat is above that. So pretty much we're going to just use our hand as our spot. So put your hand on the edge of your paper. The camera doesn't want to see it all. So right on the edge of the paper with a little bit of extra room. Maybe, 2 more fingers there. And we're going to start our hat just above that. Just make sure you have enough room for the points. So towards the left side, we're going to draw 3 little circles for our holly berries. And then on here, I have this leaf showing you step 1 and this leaf on the right showing you step 2. So we're going to start by creating rainbows that go straight out kind of on top of each other like this. And that's the beginning of the leaf. And then we're going to do 2 more that angle inward to create the point of our leaf. All right. So this time I did my leaf a lot more up and down. So it's going to come down onto his face a little. If you want yours to stay up on the hat and not angled downward, we want to move that so that it's higher up. So instead, then we'll do this straight over. And we don't want these to be too large. So then if you keep them more straight across, that will be more likely to stay on the brim of his hat. Inside, I did like a little spiral that just curved down to create some texture. It's almost like a question mark without the dot. And it's got a little more of a curve, but that is really close to that shape. Then we're going to do another leaf on the other side. Same thing. So 2 of those little rainbow shapes or smiles on top of each other, more or less in a straight line. And then 2 more on the other side. And then angle inward. So it's like an upside down letter V, or sideways in this case. And then add your little swirl in there. I want to show that very well. Trying to get the camera to focus so you guys can see a little more. All right, next we're going to add that brim underneath, which is a rectangle shape, but it does have rounded corners. So I don't do a super straight rectangle. I do a little bit of a curve just because when a hat is on our head, usually the brim doesn't sit straight across. It's got like a little curve shaped to your head. So just above your holly leaves, create a line that goes across. Kind of establish the start of your hat's brim, then curve down on the side and across. Next, we're going to add those antlers. They kind of look like cacti. The big thing with these is that whatever distance your lines are apart, you want to try to keep all of those apart so that each of these little horns then are the same height or width as this line here, the base of the antler. So we're going to curve up and do 1 little horn. And then we're going to do a tall horn right on top of this starting stem of our antler. And then come down a little further and do another shorter one on the other side. Almost like a fork with the center tine being longer. Do the same thing on this side. And I try to make them about the same height and size, but don't stress too much about that. In nature, even real deer's antler do not always have the same number of horns on both sides. So it's all right. And we'll add our pointy hat behind there. I usually start with my pom-pom actually on top first, because that gives me a landing point, because I often draw big. And so I run out of room and only have that little bit of space on top. So once you get your circle centered above that, or whatever shape you're going to use for your pom-pom, then you're going to create a triangle shape from the bottom center of this, curving it outward to the edge of your hat. And it should connect somewhere along the outside edge of the antler. And if you notice here, this curve went all the way to the outside edge of the brim, and this one landed a little closer. So an easy fix for that is just to extend my brim a little bit and make it even. Otherwise, you could erase your diagonal line and adjust that one, but it was easy enough to do it that way. If you wanted to, you could even add stripes or polka dots onto your hat, or whatever shape or pattern you want. All right, now it's time for our fun gnome. In the center of this brim, we're going to add a big oval shape for his nose. It's funny that just with that little oval now, it looks like a gnome to me. I just have to see that big nose. Then we're going to do a long skinny oval around that for the part of his face that we can see. This is where his flesh is actually, his skin tone. The rest of everything else is his beard or mustache. So this is going to be not as wide as our hat brim. So we want it to be a little bit shorter, but the same height as our nose. So just curve around, connect to the bottom of the nose. Same thing on this side, and then connect to the bottom of the nose. Now we get to make the super fun mustache. So off the edge of that face part that we just drew, we're going to add a sideways candy cane to create the curve of his mustache. Then we're going to start at the end of that, curve around, getting a little further away, and then angling up towards the middle of his nose and not quite coming all the way up, because we want to leave a little bit of that hair or mustache disconnected from the nose. All right, then we're going to repeat that on the other side to complete his mustache. You can do a curve like this or a point like my original one. I want to show you both options. You could even make this super curly, like a handlebar mustache. That would be super fun too. All right, next we're going to add the beard. So that's going to come all the way almost to the edge of the brim and angle inwards towards the center. So these lines are going to go almost up and down completely, but they're going to angle in towards the middle just a tiny bit. And then pretend like that continues to angle towards the center, because our goal is to connect maybe like right around here somewhere, maybe like there, somewhere around in the bottom there. And follow that however it would go, and then pick up your pencil line and just continue that beard. Same on this side. What I usually do is I draw my line. Then when I hit my mustache, I pick up my pencil just a little bit, but I pretend like I'm still drawing, and then set it back down when I get to the very bottom of the mustache line. Next, we're going to add his feet in there, and those are going to be right on either side of his beard there. So wherever you ended the beard, add a large rainbow shape to each side to create his little shoes. And then across the bottom, we're going to do a curved line once and then twice to create the rubber sole of his shoe and then the top of his shoe. You could also extend your rainbow and do the second line at the bottom, I just do it on the inside because I start with pretty big rainbows. Next, we're going to add his outfit, his gown, because he's fancy, a fancy Christmas gnome. And that's going to start just a little bit of ways down his beard, curve out, and connect next to his shoe there. And you can see I have a very large-headed gnome this time and a short-bodied gnome. So his gown is a little more voluptuous because he's a little chunkier, because that's how I drew him. Next, we're going to start to add his hands and his details, what he's holding, his candy cane. So underneath his mustache over here to the right side, somewhere in this open space, we're going to draw a curved line that's facing the edge of our paper. This is where his wrist is coming around. This is the back of his wrist coming from the back side of our candy cane. And then just a curve of his fingers going over the candy cane. It should not be very big, maybe the size of the tip of your pinky or, one of your fingers. Not much bigger than that. Then we're going to add the candy cane in. So we want that to come right next to where his arm is here. So I start just on the other side, leaving a little gap behind his arm there. But that, I'm too far to the side. I think I have to go even farther over. I'm gonna start up here so that I can really get that good candy cane shape. So I'm going to do a curve for the end of it, go all the way over. So it looks like it's going to be way too far. Go down, just kind of, again, picking up your pencil when you go around those other features that are already there. And you see my hand didn't quite make it to where it needed to be underneath that candy cane. So I'm going to erase my hand and move it over just a tiny bit so that it's touching this candy cane and holding on to it just a slight bit. We're going to add our curves or stripes into our candy cane. When I do curves on a candy cane or stripes, I curve my line slightly. Not a lot, just a slight curve. It helps create those cool stripes over that rounded part and not make them look really wonky, because stripes are usually straight. And so when you have to go around a curve, you get a little bit of an awkward shape there. Next, we're going to add the arm that's attached to this hand here. So just off the top, we're going to just do a curve line up towards his shoulder area for the sleeve of his jacket there. And then wherever this end of the wrist or jacket part would be, it's going to angle the same way, but we can't draw it on our hand or on our candy cane. So we're just going to angle our pencil again and add it where we need to. And so this time it's going to be a tiny little bit showing. There won't be very much, and that's okay. We also want to add his other arm over here. I just did a little curved line next to his body to add his arm itself, and then just a little curved end for his hand, kind of imagining it's just kind of balled up and we're not seeing the details of each of those. Then you can decorate this however you want. I added some big polka dots in the background because I think polka dots are just whimsical and fun. And once I colored the background in solid blue, those almost look like big pieces of snow coming down, which I loved. But you could also just decorate your gnome how he is now. I can't wait to see how yours turned out. Don't forget to post your finished project either in our student forum on Facebook, Studio CIA Student Projects, or on our website in our community forum, linked below. Be sure to come back for another drawing soon. Bye, everyone.